Welcome to the 144th episode of the Crisis Jam. My name is David Covington. I'm with RI International and also Behavioral Health Link. And we're going to do a redo, a mulligan today. I'm excited about the program with Stephanie Mitchell Hughes, Wrestling with Suicide Alone, but was also excited about the program last week, and we were never able to start. There were several of us who support this program week to week. Kristen Ellis, Karen Jones, and others are behind the scenes. And we, back about 5 minutes before the show started, had just begun the YouTube video we just initiated and had a number of bad actors in the gallery that we began to furiously try to remove from the meeting. And within 60 to 90 seconds, realized that we had lost control and were getting overrun. So I, in my frantic attempt to close and end the meeting, I actually opened up the vulnerability that they seized control of the main screen. Karen Jones was able to cut the feed. But if you were in gallery view, you got 60 to 90 seconds of exposure to the extremely inappropriate content. And if you were in gallery view, then you got 3 to 5 seconds, we believe. And there were about 40 to 50 of you in the room at that time. Now, another 100 plus joined the room immediately following, and you would have just realized we weren't having Crisis Jam as per normal. But for those 40 or 50 of you who were exposed, I have talked to a couple of you who struggle with that. I'd hope to have actually Tanja Miles join us and talk a little bit today. Tanja has talked on this program about her history of sexual assault and sexual violence, and was triggered by what went on, and was going to talk through what she did to support and manage her own mental health. Tanja will be back on the program. She's unavailable today. But Tanja and I, in partnership with NASBIT and SAMHSA, did reach out to April Naturel at Vibrant. April was actually the lead for the largest mental health disaster response in United States history after 9/11. And the team at Vibrant, separate from 988 and the work that we're all doing, does have a crisis disaster set of resources and confidential counselors who can provide some additional support if you need some extra help. And if you email crisisemotionalcare@vibrant.org, and we'll put that in the chat, someone will schedule a confidential 45-minute wellness check-in that's free of charge with one of their caring and trained professionals who are crisis counselors. So again, we're very sorry this happened. We've had a community that's been wide open, and it's a vibrant. There's several thousand of you who have been in this program at one time or another. But by virtue of that wide open nature of the link, we didn't know who was in this meeting. And the decision we've made is our values around connection and engagement. The fact that the chat and text moves constantly and we call on different people throughout the show. We'll have 15, 20 people as speakers during a routine program. We wanted to keep all that. And so what we're doing is now we have a new link and require registration. And so thankful that so many of you, we've got about 250 of you as of this morning who've been vetted through that process and are now coming into an environment that we can assure to the best of our ability is a safe one for us all to engage in. For those of you who didn't make it in today and you're watching this program on YouTube, then we have the registration, which is on the website at talk.crisisnow.com. And that new registration process requires two things, which we didn't require before. One, we now require you to come in through an authenticated Zoom account. And so you have to use the email that's in your Zoom account, and you can get a free Zoom account in order to register. And then once we've vetted that email and we know who you are, then we'll provide a link and a password to get into the meeting. It does take a few hours to do that, and please be patient with us. We're working as quickly as we can. We want all of you to be in this gathering, but we already absolutely have had someone try to leverage the identity of one of our community members and make their way in. So we are trying to be as thoughtful as we can, so that, again, that it's a safe environment. So right now, if someone is not aware of what's happening, they may have gone to that link that we normally use, and we're highlighting the process, encouraging them to register there. And again, we'll turn those around as quickly as we can. But as we build the community back, and again, it looks like we have about 80 of us in the room right now. That's a third of what it normally is. As we build back, we'll have all of these programs, as we always do. Karen and Kristen and team typically have the Wednesday show on YouTube by the end of the day. So look forward to having all of us back in the group as quickly as we can. And so far, all we've had to do in order to create a safer, more secure environment is switch this upper left corner of the talk.crisisnow.com from that open link to a registration process. But this is also going to solve some things. We've always had issues with you having the Crisis Jam on your calendar. If you're using Outlook, for example, a lot of that will be solved with this new process. And again, we're working as fast as we can. And if you got a denial of that original email, then we're working that through and making sure that we get you in as quickly as we can. Karen Jones' email is we'll put that in the chat and make sure that our team is following up and working through. But the actor that we thought was trying to leverage someone's identity to get in the meeting, we did offer the same sort of resolution. No follow-up from that person, as you might guess. So it's a new day. We're going to take this mulligan and move forward. And again, all the episodes are on our both talk.crisisnow.com and also on our YouTube channel. And you see the code there to get into YouTube, the QR code, and our most watched, highest participation episodes. A lot of those special edition episodes when the Go Live event, our youth edition, the tech edition, and then rounding out the top 10, some of these really specialty connections that we have with EMS and law enforcement, LGBTQ plus populations, and more, all available on YouTube. The community is a vibrant one, and we've had over 400 of you who've been actual participants in the Jam as speakers. You've given a feature, you've been in the roundtable, or you've been a part of the trivia hot seat. So we welcome your ideas for speakers, for content. We'll talk about a couple of the special episodes that are coming up that might spark your thinking, but please let us know. And again, outreach Karen on the team with those ideas. And this is a view of the nearly 400 people who've actually been part of the program over the course of the last nearly 150 episodes. The news items that we'd hoped to present last week, we got backed up a little bit. So we've got some news items that we'll try to catch up on as we go. But these are the news items from last week, and a really important one. 988 Mental Health Crisis Line launches ASL services for callers who are deaf and hard of hearing. And we've got a couple of our champions, Steve Hammerdinger and Megan Hott, who have really held the banner and paved the way for a lot of this great work. So Steve, we'd love to hear from you around your reflections on the breakthrough with Vibrant.
Well, we are thrilled to work with Vibrant and with the support of SAMHSA and NASMDA. To successfully offer live ASL support for the crisis line. We have been working in earnest for this over the last many years. When 988 was announced for people who could hear, my first question is, why not for people who are deaf? So we're thrilled that this is in place, and we're excited to see that the addition of the day of SAMHSA They sent Megan to be there live for their celebration. And that tells us how much this service is valued. So we want to thank SAMHSA and NASDA, but also all the people who have been involved and bore with me as I was on my pulpit preaching for the good that this could do for the deaf community. And we're so glad that it is in place. Thank you all who were involved.
Thank you, Steve. And thank you so much for your leadership in this area, the presentation you gave in the Crisis Jam. Steve, have you yet tested the service directly yourself?
I am embarrassed to say that not yet. But now that you've thrown down the challenge, I accept. So,
well, we'd love to
I'm
have
looking
you
forward to when we can actually have the opportunity for deaf individuals to call through our video phones. Right now, we're having to use the old 800 number, but in a few weeks, everything should be live for 9888. And also, we're looking forward to deaf people just being able to use their video phones to call in directly instead of through an 800 number.
Terrific, terrific. We'll look forward to having you back, Steve, to talk through your experiences as you hear from people firsthand and also as you have a chance yourself. Megan, you were the one who connected us first through to Steve and to this effort, and Steve's giving you some props. Tell us your thoughts about this breakthrough with the deaf and hard of hearing community.
David, I think the word breakthrough is just a great word. What I love is that the deaf community has the same access as the hearing community, and why that is so important for people that don't understand that dynamic. To have a direct service with a video phone versus having to talk through an interpreter that the crisis worker was only able to see the interpreter. You can imagine if you're in crisis and you don't even know what's actually being said.
Right.
And so it exacerbates the crisis. So this direct service is absolutely key to building trust with the deaf community, and Deaf Lead, who is leading this national center, is deaf led. The executive director is deaf. Deaf people are ASL fluent there. They're trained in crisis counseling. Interpreters are not necessarily. So this is a breakthrough and history being made. I am thrilled for the equity on this and just really thank SAMHSA's leadership and all of the support and advocacy from the deaf community to make this happen.
Great, great. You know, I'd love to get one more comment from Steve. So Megan, when you and I discussed this last week in the pre-show, you were talking about that not only do we have deaf individuals responding to deaf and hard of hearing individuals in terms of direct support, but we also have deaf and hard of hearing individuals responding to hearing people through the text service, the chat service.
That's right.
So Steve, would love to hear your reflections on, boy, that seems like a mammoth shift from where we were talking when you presented. I don't remember if that was about a year ago.
It is a mammoth shift. And it also shows that deaf people can do it. We're happy to see that this is happening, particularly deaf individuals leading the charge, being able to provide support for people who can hear through chat and text. It's fascinating. I appreciate the shift, and it's been very fascinating to watch.
Terrific. Great. So more to come as that service begins to roll out and we see outcomes. Another news item, again, talking about the path forward and the work that we have to do. One of the values of the SAMHSA national guidelines around crisis care is really approach to anyone, anywhere, anytime. and breaking through the barriers of the traditional gatekeeping process. Article in the Seattle Times, King County mental health facilities, and this is including crisis and detox and inpatient types of programs, still reject a quarter of patients, report shows. So people being referred, but the program saying we won't serve that individual. And the article goes into detail about the most common reasons that they feel ill-prepared to serve someone. But again, more reminiscent of the way emergency medical services used to be deployed back in the 60s and 70s that we still have in the behavioral health crisis space. And of course, what that does to the this gauntlet of the hospital emergency department. In this article from North Carolina Health News, what happens when you take someone in a mental health crisis to the ER? And I did borrow one of the lines from that article for the quote of the week. What happens when you take someone in a mental health crisis to the ER? In North Carolina, it says mental health patients under involuntary commitment can wait for hours, days, or weeks in hospital emergency rooms for an available bed at a psychiatric hospital. So we're going to come back to that. In the pre-show, we played the We're the Superhumans YouTube that was created for the 2016 Paralympics. We're going to lean into that topic of the progress that has been made to reduce stigma and actually break through barriers that would make it easier to get real care. And then think about that as an analog, if you will, as we get to Stephanie's presentation. But the SAMHSA store continues to be there with promotional items, and our own store, we have shirts and hats for 988. We always raise this because you get a shirt for being in the Crisis Trivia hot seat. Howard, you were with us last week. Are you with us today, Howard?
Yes, I am, David.
Howard, thanks for joining us. Howard believes people are first. We are people first and can and do deserve a good quality of life. Co-founder of the Metro Boston Recovery Learning Community and a disability rights advocate. And Howard, I believe you have a phone a friend with you today as well.
It's Monica Luke.
Tell us about Monica.
I've known her a long time. I recruited her to get involved with NAMI, and we've been serving together on a lot of projects.
Terrific. Welcome,
I can't
Monica.
see the question and choices.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming, Howard. We're getting there, Howard. Howard is a veteran of the show, seen Howard's face in the gallery many, many times. And Howard and Monica, we also have C.W. Tillman with us. CW is definitely a friend of the deaf and hard of hearing community, an ASL interpreter, and has tracked the ADA history pretty well. So he might be an additional resource to you. So Howard, here it is. The Americans with Disability Act was a watershed event in modern U.S. history, signed by President George H.W. Bush in 1990. Justin Dart was one of those who helped by compiling the difficulties and discrimination faced in everyday life. What did the record of conditions faced by persons with disabilities come to be known as? Was it A, achieving access, B, barriers to remove, C, costly stories, or D, discrimination diaries? So what Justin Dart did with a group of others, they traveled to all 50 states. They had listening sessions. Person after person after person would come to the podium. They had a certain amount of time they could talk about the challenges of that day, as well as give written testimony. He compiled all of that, took it to Congress, piled it up on the desk. It was so high that you couldn't see the witnesses for Congress. So, Howard, thoughts on what that record came to be known as?
This is not an easy one. I would like to say also represent warmline.org, a portal of all information on peer support lines. And years ago at a NAMI convention, I was meeting with Christine Griffin, and she had me meet the widow, Mrs. Dart. It was great that I was able to do that. Well, I'm leaning towards achieving access, but I'm not super confident. I think Monica, did you have a suggestion first before we poll the audience?
This is not my area of expertise, but I would think that since the ADA is about access, that achieving access is a really good thought.
Okay, thanks for
So,
backing me up. Can we poll the audience?
yeah, let's see the audience results. And just to be fair, Howard, I watched videos of Justin and pulled all of the concepts from his talk, but they were actually called one of these things. He obviously talked about all of these. The audience, what do you think? Let's see what the audience says.
Well, it looks overwhelmingly for discrimination diaries, which
So people
does-
like the alliteration of that. Let's CW, you have any reflections? Do you happen to know the answer, CW?
I am stumped on this one as well, but I know they talked a lot about the cost of lost lives, and so I was kind of leaning towards costly stories.
So he does talk about the cost of lost lives. So the audience goes with discrimination diaries. CW is leaning to costly. Monica likes achieving access. Howard, final answer on this.
Oh man, that's tough here. Record of conditions faced makes sense to be discrimination diaries. So I'm going to go against my gut here. Unless that was a trick answer. I'm sorry, but
You know what? We're going to give it to you, Howard. It is discrimination
that's
diaries.
what I was going to go with.
And look, he talks about achieving access. They're clear this was all about barriers. So I think the analog here is it's interesting. At that time, what was called the disability community didn't say, oh my God, this is on us. We have to try harder. They said, it's not that I don't want a job. It's that the curb is not cut for me to be able to get up to the building. The door in the building isn't wide enough for me to get in. I can get in the door, but there's no elevator for me to get to the floor where I work. I can get to the floor where I work, but there's not a restroom that I can use during the day. Again, these were the challenges, were the external pieces that society could make reasonable accommodations for so that individuals could live a full and this, again, back exactly to what Steve was talking about around this new video service. So great. I love the talking through. Thanks, Monica. Thanks, CW. And Howard, the challenging question, and you get a win on that one. So thank you for joining us, Howard.
Thank you, David.
Stephanie, thanks so much for joining us. Stephanie, you wrote a blog that you shared with us, and we thought it was just terrific, especially the 10 reasons you didn't share that you were struggling. So, Stephanie, let's start. Tell a little bit about yourself, who you are, your background. Of course, you were in our Lived Lens a few months ago and sort of set some groundwork for this, but give the audience here, the learning community with Crisis Jam, who you are.
Hi, David, and thank you so much for allowing me and inviting me to be here. I'm Stephanie Mitchell Hughes. I am by profession an attorney, but I am also the assistant director of NAMI, Franklin County, Ohio. I'm a person who has lived with depression and what I will call generous episodes of suicidal ideation for over 4 decades. And I started writing about it back in 2013. My goal in doing that was to be what I call respectfully disruptive and to begin having conversations about things that are hard to talk about.
And Stephanie, you're an attorney. Talk a little bit about your professional background.
My background is a lawyer primarily because I've been a lawyer now for a really long time. And so for most of my career is in labor and employment law. So I represented employers, had given a lot of advice, helped to deal with policies and shepherd cases through and advise people. and to a large extent, that's one of the things that became a strong interest of mine, which is workplace well-being and resilience.
So, Stephanie, when you reflect on the work that the disability community has done with the ADA, at this portion of the video in the pre-show, you know, the 6-minute video was all about CAN. But then it showed this brief segment of a young man in a career counselor office, and I'm going to play that brief segment here.
No, you can't.
Well, your
Yes.
reflection, Stephanie, on the parallels here.
Well, in terms of early in my career, I dealt with cases that were filed under the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. I believe it's 504, which is the precursor to the ADA, and then in the early days of the ADA. And then I think about where I am and what my personal journey has been. And it is always having to say first to ourselves, you know, I have to say it to myself, yes, I can. Yes, I can. Not only yes, I can, but yes, I will.
Yeah. So, Stephanie, I think one of the things that prompted you to write this blog was your reflections when Stephen Boss died. Talk a little bit about what you were thinking about at that time.
So the day that this unfortunately happened, when I saw it announced, I think I saw it on Twitter, I just remember thinking to myself, if I wait long enough, at some point today, someone's going to go to an organization like NAMI, like the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and they're going to ask, what are the signs that someone is suicidal? How will you know that a person is going to decide that they're going to end their lives by suicide? And invariably it happened. And it was frustrating to me because the other part of it is that it caused me to reflect on the other times when I myself have been suicidal, and a specific time when I decided to write about it. And then I posted it on Facebook. And to me, it's the wrong question. The wrong question is not what are the signs, because then what it says is somehow a friend, a family member, an employer should intuitively know. It sidesteps the question that I think leads us into those conversations about mental health, about suicidal ideation, suicide, that just make us uncomfortable.
So the question of what did we miss? What it misses is the discrimination and challenges in this. Again, think back to Discrimination Diaries of why it's not just a personal thing, it's all this external stuff which imposes in the environment we're in. You know, I've just in it's fuzzed out, but Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade, Robin Williams, it happened every one of those times, didn't it?
Yes, invariably it did. It did. And in fact, right, because Kate Spade and I are the same age, I believe even born in the same month, when I wrote a similar article then talking about I am Kate Spade, because it again, to say this is real. It's not anything to be ashamed of. It's something that we have to learn how to talk about, and we have to also be willing to help people get out, sort of set the stage, build the ramp, create the bathroom, the space for people to have conversations, and also to get the assistance that they need without fearing shame or some type of other recrimination.
Yeah. And, Alan, I actually have Alan Rickman in the midst of that group. Alan died about the same time that Robin Williams died, the same year in 2014. And the news articles were that Alan had tragically died, and that he had lost, he courageously had lost his battle with cancer. And we could say the same thing, right? What did he miss? What did we miss? Why didn't he get treatment sooner? I mean, we could have the same kind of discriminatory environment, and rather it's like this respectful, thoughtful approach that happened with someone with cancer. So,
Right.
Stephanie, you wrote 10 reasons that you didn't, why didn't Stephen share? Well, you know why you didn't share, and
Right.
you listed those out. So the number one reason you listed was, I want to protect you.
Right. Yes. I listed, that's my number one, because back in 2016, I had a mental health crisis, and I wrote about the way what I was thinking, what I was feeling. I was suicidal, and writing is my way of processing. And so I have a really small Facebook community, and I posted it on Facebook. And in the post, I wrote, don't call me because I'm fine. Don't send this to my parents. And don't start sending other people over to my house to come help me. That, so I learned from that, because my friends just really freaked out about it, and did all of the things that I told them they didn't have to. And I understand why. And so I just I'm trying to get them to understand, okay, well, I want to protect you, and I don't want to freak you out. Yep. You have your own problems.
Right. Right.
Because, and as a friend and as a family member, people know that, I don't go and say things or talk about things. I have one of my very best friends, her mother has been struggling and living with ovarian cancer, and it's become very serious. I'm not going to turn around and then, yeah.
Well, and this is a little bit different than your friend's other. This is, I think, is this an extension, Stephanie, of when you say, I don't want you to freak out? That freaking out kind of goes further, doesn't it? And look,
Right.
We would freak out if Alan told us he had cancer. We might also freak out if Robin told us he was feeling suicidal. So they're scary things. But this number 4, talk a little bit about this.
Well, number 4, because right after this particular, when I had the crisis and wrote about it in 2016, my friends one of my friends FaceTimed me like multiple times over the course of the weekend. And I was trying to get her to understand, okay, I said I'm okay, but right now, because I'm really in the trenches fighting this thing out, really wrestling with this, I can't have you FaceTiming me to see if I'm okay.
Right. So that I don't trust you. What you were describing is they didn't trust you. And
Right.
Again, because of that being freaked out and scared about it, but talk about not trusting them.
Well, and then sometimes I may not tell you because I don't trust you, because I know, and this wasn't the case with my friends, but I know that you may decide, rather than to talk to me about how I'm feeling or what have you, you may decide I'm going to take matters into my own hands, and I'm going to then go and take a specific action that may ultimately bring harm to me, that I may not want you, that I may not feel comfortable with you taking. It is, I don't trust you to accept me and meet me where I am. That's what I don't trust you to do.
We've talked a lot since the summer of 2020 about more passive, whether we're talking about racism or issues of equity. So we may not think we actively do this, and yet all of us have some of this too. And this, again, back to the discrimination diaries. You judge me and don't believe that mental illness is a brain disease. How does that play out? Because I think probably a lot of people say, I don't do that. But then how does it play out that you feel it?
The way that people look, they look at me. When I talk about being suicidal or write about it or tell people, especially within the context of the legal profession, it's my mind is everything. And if you look at me and think, oh my gosh, is this person reliable? Because this person has a mental illness, are they going to be able to help me? Are they going to are their problems going to become so overwhelming that they cannot do the job that I need them to do? Are they going to come in and tear up our workplace? Are they going to start doing all of these things?
Yeah.
And, without evidence, perhaps even to the contrary, because prior to my saying that I live with suicidal thinking, prior to my saying that I live with depression, and you didn't know that, you wouldn't have known it if I hadn't disclosed it.
Reminds me a lot of Dr. Marsha Linehan, who didn't disclose her challenges until just the last few years, and then was expressed that she wasn't sure she should have, again, for that sort of issue, that people then look at the research a different way. I think we've talked about number 7. Let's talk about number 8, though, because this is when we're talking about the door's not wide enough to get in, and it's actually an external issue. This is a big one, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. This one comes out of a time when I could not find a psychiatrist. I was having enough, and it speaks to, in a way, of the lack of available psychiatrists, because I had been calling and trying to make an appointment with a psychiatrist, because my meds needed to be evaluated, and I would try, and then I couldn't find one, give up, try, couldn't find one, give up. And so I had a crisis, and I needed to have my meds evaluated. And I can remember that my therapist at the time told me, as we were struggling through this, she said, well, you can go to the ER and tell them that you need to see a psychiatrist. And I just thought, can't do that. Because what if they then decide that I'm a danger to myself or someone else? Yeah. If they decide, and the thing is that I'm a solo mom. And I just thought, my children would completely freak out if I went to the hospital and said, I need to see a psychiatrist to evaluate my meds, and then they decide she's got to go on a 72-hour hold.
Yeah. And it said just a little bit differently in number 9, I can decide if I'm a danger to myself or others. And look, we get all this is complicated, folks. And yet for many people struggling with these challenges, this is where they're at, Stephanie.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I may truly be a danger to myself. I may be, but I think this speaks to, in terms of number 9, it speaks to being willing to meet me where I am.
And that's tough. It is. We're talking all of this. I think all of us agree with these in the theoretical, but in the here and now, this is tough work. Number 10.
Yes, I know that my depression and suicidal thoughts make you uncomfortable. Yes, because most people, I believe, want to be helpful. My friends, they do what they do and did what they did because they love me and they want the very best for me. When this incident with me and my crisis occurred in 2016, and my friend, one of my friends sent the Facebook post to my mother, who several months later chose her moment and came to me and asked me about it. And she told me at the time, she said, she goes, I'm concerned. What if someone reads this and they do something to take advantage of you? And I just thought, but I've thought about this. I think very carefully about these articles when I write them and when I post them, and I do it intentionally, and I'm aware of the risk. I'm aware of the cost that but for me, the die is cast. I've been a lawyer for 35 years. And one of the frustrations that I had about the legal profession is that in 2013, in terms of well-being, it didn't look any different than it did when I got there. And so I just thought, we've got to do something. We've got to stop pretending that the emperor is not wearing clothes, because just because we don't talk about it doesn't mean that it is not so.
So,
And then
thank you so much. Look, you know, the way that we broke enormous ground in with the ADA was really around the leadership of those with lived expertise, sharing the barriers and how to move forward with a system where care feels like care. So really appreciate your continued leadership in this space and for writing this blog. Karen, let's make sure we put a link to that Medium article in the chat. And let's go to Dr. Brian Sims from NASBID with a reflection on Stephanie's talk today.
Wow, I know we don't have a lot of time. I want to keep it extremely brief here, but Stephanie, I am in awe of you. I'm really honored to be given this opportunity to just say a few words, because you are and have been tackling an issue that is not just here in the US. You are dealing with issues that are worldwide. And what I really loved that you said a little earlier was about being respectfully disruptive. I think that's a beautiful term to say that not only are you respectfully disruptive, but you're also very trauma sensitive. And I think that those two gel together so wonderfully to be able to talk about a tough topic, because there's so many takeaways from what I saw here. Now, my being a psychiatrist myself, I really felt what you were talking earlier about that connection that quite often doesn't take place in the emergency room setting from the misinterpretations or otherwise that are seen. But one of the things I did want to share is that in the years that I worked with the trauma teams and working on trauma-informed care, we would always bring someone with lived expertise. And that person was the person that carried the greatest voice. Because what you are doing, Stephanie, is you are experiencing and giving out a needed voice in a very needed time. You are talking about issues that many are listening and responding to because they don't have the answers. So I just thank you so much for what you are providing at this point in time. And I just wanted to say to you that right now, the message that you're giving and how you're giving it is so valued, and you are indeed valued as well. So thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you so much, Brian. Okay, let's move on to our SAMHSA update. Dr. John Palmieri, how are you doing today?
Hey, David, thank you. Doing well. Good to see everybody, and appreciate the opportunity to provide a quick couple of updates. So in our SAMHSA.gov webpage, there is some additional coverage of the roadshow that Monica and others have been engaged in, most recently in Missouri, which was in part connected to the launch of the American Sign Language services through the Lifeline, which you identified and flagged earlier in the Crisis Jam. So please feel free to look at some of the coverage that's there around those events. And also wanted to flag that in the SAMHSA store, which you also referenced, one of the things is now there, which I'm incredibly excited about, which is the 988 bumper sticker. It has been a long time coming. We've received a lot of requests for bumper stickers, and now they are there for to be printed and downloaded for use in your communities. So very excited about that. Also on the communication side, just wanted to make note of a really great partnership with the NFL that Vibrant, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and CTL worked on, particularly with a couple of players to promote Suicide Awareness Month and to promote awareness of 988 in crisis services. And there were a couple of players in particular, New York Jets defensive end Solomon Thomas and Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott, who wore special 988 cleats. And there's some additional social media material supporting 988 and access to crisis services on the NFL social media site. So really excited about that partnership in particular. And then finally, just wanted to, I talked a little bit about this, I believe, in previous report outs, but we have finally launched our Training and Technical Assistance Center, which is focused on crisis services. We now have a landing page, which I will put in the chat, where there will continue to be materials, calendar of events, requests for technical assistance. So this is really intended to be kind of a broad umbrella structure, not to duplicate work that's already underway, but to amplify some of that work and obviously to address gaps where they exist to support crisis system transformation. And there already are a couple of things on the landing page that people can register for, most notably the beginning of a 6-part webinar series on 988 911 coordination. So again, I will throw that in the chat for reference. And I think that's it for me for now, David. Thank you.
Great so much. Thank you so much, John. Let's go to Brian Hepburn with NAJMN.
Thank you, David. And thank you to John and SAMHSA for their leadership. The 988, the JAM, is very helpful to states and territories. Want to thank you, David, and your team for all the work that you've done since last Wednesday. It's really impressive. It was a sad day on Wednesday, and you've done everything possible to get the JAM up and running. So thank you. You've been working full time since last Wednesday in order to add the security. As a result, we're back up with the JAM, and we want to thank you very much. Wanted to also say thank you to Stephanie Hughes. Thank you for sharing your experience. But also, I really loved your quote. We need to set the stage, build the ramp for people to have space to share without recrimination. That's a quote I'm going to take with me for quite a while. So thank you. And thank you, David.
Oh, awesome, Brian. Love it. Love it. Let's go to Sarah Corcoran and Joanna Rosen from Guide Consulting and AFSP. Tell us a little bit about where we are with, is there anything going on, Sarah?
Oh, just, not much happening in DC, but I think Joanna is going to cover that in the second half of the federal update. And I'll just share a couple things very quickly. First, we have a new tool that we are debuting this week for the Crisis Jam. It is a federal legislation tracker. So legislation in the crisis space that's been introduced at the federal level this Congress. So starting in this January through next December at the end of the year. We will keep this updated as a new bill text comes out, but we've got things separated throughout the crisis continuum. So legislation that's in the call center, text and chat center space, legislation that's in the mobile team space, crisis receiving and stabilization space, and then legislation that's across the continuum or touches on multiple pieces or is not directly in one of those 3 legs, but is related to crisis and suicide prevention. So we'll make sure that link is shared in the chat, and we'll try to keep it updated as new stuff comes out. One quick regulatory update. Last Monday, the window closed for comments for the Medicare calendar year 2024 physician fee schedule. I'm going to share a link to the summary doc in the chat momentarily. There were a couple pieces that came from the end of year omnibus last year in the crisis space that rule is setting into motion. So that includes some of the mobile crisis payment as in Medicare, as well as peer support recognition. So I'll share that link in the chat, but I'm going to turn it to Joanna for the action-packed congressional update.
All right.
All right, we do have some updates for you all this week, which is exciting. Things have been a little bit quiet, or at least on hold for a little while, as we sort of emerged out of August recess and the Senate and the House both returned to their work in DC. There is a hearing coming up that I will drop the link into the chat for in the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee, focused on mental health and suicide prevention for veterans. So we are looking forward to that. Great panel of witnesses. I believe the executive director of the suicide prevention at the VHA is going to be there. So should be really good. We'll have some information on that probably next week. That is this afternoon. So if you want to tune in, and you can watch either on Congress, Congress.gov or live on their website, please feel free. We also have something of a budget update for everybody. I know we've all been hoping to avoid a shutdown. We don't know for sure yet still what that's going to look like. Sarah and I were discussing chances on the run of show call. I think we're a little pessimistic about it at this point, but we'll see. Still fingers crossed for the chance to avoid a shutdown. There is CR text, which is a continuing resolution, which is a short-term budget that will keep the government funded and operating until Congress can agree on a full budget. But there are some politics at play in the House Majority Party within that party. So we're still sort of keeping an eye on that, seeing what'll happen. But we do have text of that. Again, we're sort of still waiting to see how 988 will fall in those areas, but looking forward to hopefully having a fuller update next week in terms of actual numbers that we can share with you all.
Great. Thank you, Sarah and Joanna. Fingers crossed. And we'll take a step at a time here. We don't have an update on the state movement, but we'll come back to that in future episodes. Again, 8 states have now passed comprehensive 988 implementation, a couple of more in the works. Stephanie Hepburn, we have a couple of minutes for a quick update on the Crisis Talk article of the week, your interview with Terry Russell.
That's right. So I spoke with Terry. He's the former executive director of Ohio NAMI. And we chatted about building Ohio's crisis systems. And systems is intentional because there are 88 counties in Ohio. And there are also 50 behavioral health boards that plan, evaluate, and fund mental health and addiction services locally. So Terry says that means there are 50 unique crisis systems. So he talks about what's happening in Ohio. He also shares his own personal experience. So I'd like to direct you all to check out the article. Thanks, David.
Great. Thank you so much, Stephanie. We also have the Strong Talk with us today. Vic Armstrong, are you with us? I know Vic was going to join us a little bit late. Karen, can you tell if Vic is with us yet? Vic, of course, was the Commissioner of Mental Health in North Carolina, moved into a role as the first health equity officer, a cabinet level position, and is now the Vice President of Equity and Engagement at AFSP. So Vic, are you with us for Strong Talk today?
You'll be joining, but not quite yet, a little early.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll come back to Vic here in a moment then. Let's talk about some upcoming episodes. On October the 11th, we've been talking about spotlighting a crisis center or crisis centers in the context of various 988 chat, text, call, contact centers. We're going to have actually our first showcase on October the 11th. Several of us did tour the University of Utah statewide 988 and crisis call center back a few weeks ago. It is led by Rachel Lusinski, who's the Director of Community Crisis Intervention and Support Services there with the Huntsman Mental Health Institute. That's a part of the University of Utah. You also may remember Representative Steve Ellison talking about the Safe UT app. They also administer that out of that same crisis center. But in the background of this picture, you see the 70,000 square foot brand new Kim and Carolyn Gardner Mental Health Crisis Care Center. This is a crisis receiving, crisis stabilization center in the same vein of the SAMHSA National Guidelines, that direct law enforcement drop-off center designed to remove the unnecessary engagement of a hospital emergency department for those who don't have a physical health medical emergency. Kevin Curtis is the director of that program and other programs as Director of Crisis Services. And we'll be really excited to talk both about not only the architecture, the physical layout, but the recovery and clinical approach to this, which I think is really outstanding. And then coming up on October 18th, so October 11th will be our showcase on Utah. October 18th, we'll have our first Crisis Jam debate, and it will be a moderated, formal debate. We're not looking for crossfire here on the one hand, but we are looking for a substantive exploration, and we're going to have debates which cut a hard line, that help us to explore a topic. So my son's in debate. He goes into a debate not knowing until the coin toss which side of the argument you're going to need to discuss. That we want to have an exploration of these. And our first debate is AI is the future of crisis care. Dave Atkins, who's the CEO of an AI behavioral health tech company, Listen.io, will be taking the affirmative on that. And many of you, I think we've had Leah Harris on the program previously, founder of Shifa Consulting and a longtime leader in the area of peer supports and lived experience, will be taking the negative on that. AI is the future of crisis care. So expect more on that coming up. So with that, let's see if we've got Vic Armstrong with us. Vic, were you able to join us for today's program? I know Vic was going to be running in that last 5 minutes. Karen, any thoughts, Karen, on
You might have just run over, but no, not as of yet.
Okay, so we'll push Vic to next time. Final reflections from, let's see, John Palmieri. Any reflections for the day?
Yeah, I mean, I think this has been a great session. I appreciate everybody engaging. I know last week was a challenging week in many respects, and appreciate everything that David, Brian, others on this call have done to regroup and everybody's patience in allowing us to rework the space and create and make it safer for everybody. And think it's just been a tremendous session as always, particularly the incorporation of Stephanie's comments and the perspective of lived experience and how that informs everything that we do. I think is just, it's a constant reminder of why we're here. So I really appreciate that.
Terrific. Thank you, John. Any final comments, Brian?
Just that this jam shows the reason that it's so important to maintain the jam and to take care of security. I felt really bad last week that some people may have been very, very negatively impacted by what happened. I'm so glad you were able to get us up and going again. And this, to me, this is such a unique experience, the Learning Collaborative. What you've done, what you and RI have done with this is pretty amazing, where every week you bring up a very energetic 988 jam where people are able to learn. I do feel bad for the people that tried to get on today and they were not successful. I know it's frustrating, but it's really important that we get this security right. So please bear with us. Don't give up. Use YouTube and then come back to the actual jam. Thank you.
Great, great. Vic, we're at the end. We can do it two ways. We can do a modified, like 1 minute strong talk, or we can put this off till next time. What's your preference, my friend?
Let's put it off to next time.
Okay, great. Well,
look,
thank you, Vic. Thank you for everyone who participated today and for your patience with us as we get this community back going. But Karen, I think we probably beat the over under. So welcome thank you for joining and look forward to seeing you next time.